Hi there, Ryan. Welcome back. Welcome back to our audience. This month, we wanted to talk about your well being as a person who's attending forum before, during, and after you're at the event. Ryan, if I asked you, what's your plan to care for your well being? What would you say?
Well, I don't think you're going to like the answer, but my current plan is coffee, adrenaline, and hoping that my shoes do not betray me.
Yeah, that's not a wellness plan.
We'll agree to disagree. We'll call it a wellness draft for now.
Sure. Okay. Well, to make a little bit better of a plan, we've brought a guest with us today. We're very pleased and honored to have the Radio NIGP Wellness Guru join us, independent consultant Bobby Tolson, who many of you will recognize as a common Radio NIGP contributor. And she was telling us before we started, is a 22-time forum attendee. So, Bobby, I have a feeling if I asked you your wellness plan to attend forum, you'd have a little bit more of a plan and not a draft.
Yes, Donna, just a little bit more. Um, 3 years ago was my first time presenting at conference. I've gone all those years, never thought about presenting. Well, when I had my mental and emotional crisis, I wanted to share with the people, the procurement professionals that have been with me for decades. And after COVID, everyone was having some type of mental or emotional situation, right? So, giving people information, resources to say, hey, you're coming to this conference, put your mental and emotional well being first. Now I understand that my greatest asset is my emotional and mental well being.
I think that is a great segue. If we just want to jump right in then, and we'll kind of touch on the first topic of mental health, and then we'll move on to physical and emotional well-being during and after conference as well, if that works for you, Bobby.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. So my question that I really kind of have, again, is a first timer, excited about conference, but with the anxiety creeping in. It's a lot of people, a lot of new people, a lot of strangers, huge conference venue. It's got to be what, over 1 million square feet of conference space. That center is huge, and very busy schedules. How do you recommend someone can manage that, to your point, and really kind of be self-aware before it turns on to a full-on sense of overwhelm and dread?
Yes. Thank you, Ryan. What I learned is that you have to create a plan before you go to forum, right? Once you get to forum, if you don't have a plan for managing your workload, you're not going to be able to manage your sympathetic nervous system because you're going to be on all the time because you're trying to focus on the classes that you've signed up with. You're trying to track emails so that you can make sure that the work continues to happen while you're gone. Having the ability to know that, what I would suggest is two things. When you look at your schedule, you may not want to book classes in succession. You may want to give yourself some space, time for self reflection, time to just check in with yourself, right? The second thing I would say is be okay with taking a break, right? You are there to learn, but not to be overwhelmed. So give yourself grace and say, you know what? I've gone through 3 classes. I just need to take a break. That's definitely another opportunity for you to network, to kind of get your mind off of all of those classes because it can definitely be overwhelming. So make yourself a strategy not to take all of those classes in succession, but give yourself the opportunity for self reflection and a break.
Yeah, and we've talked in previous episodes about how NIGP has such a good resource of recording so many of the sessions. So, if you just say, "Oh, I need a break. I can't go to this class even though I really wanted to attend it." If it's recorded, you can watch the recording later.
It really sounds like then the age-old adage of failure to plan is planning to fail, setting yourself up for that mental plan, knowing what your body needs and identifying the right structure for your activities and checking in with yourself is the way to go on this.
Absolutely. Without doubt, Ryan, you said it better than me.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
So this is perfect. Thank you for kind of touching on my concerns for mental health. Donna, do you want to take physical health next?
Sure. Yeah, and this is something that is especially a concern for me. I'm a person that faces some physical challenges, as many people do. I'm not trying to say I'm special or anything, but it's there's a component to events like these that we don't always think about, right? It's a lot of physical exertion, right? I know that most of the hotels that are going to be part of the plan are all within walking distance, but that's still a lot of walking. So, Bobby, what are your thoughts on preparing for that component of dealing with your physical energy and managing the time of the whole conference?
Yes, Donna. One of the main thing is knowing yourself, right? We can start there. If you do not walk every day, if you just go and sit down at your desk and you know that you're going to be walking, the first thing is preparing yourself mentally, right? I know that I'm going to have to do this, right? That's the first part is knowing because it's nothing worse than a surprise like, oh my God, I didn't know we were going to have to do this, right? So we're giving them the information up front. So to me, that can help you with a PLAN. That's 4 letters, but it's one of the hardest things to do. So that would be my first thing is understanding the layout, knowing where my hotel is. Because I think when you register, they tell you, a few blocks or a mile or whatever that is. But preparing yourself for that by bringing the right shoes, the right clothes, and believing in your own physical capabilities. If you can't walk the same length as someone else, be okay with sitting down and saying, I just need to take a break. Be okay with that, right? Don't feel compelled to do what everyone else is doing because you could be physically hurting yourself and you're not going to enjoy the conference because you're going to be somewhere in pain taking some Motrins or something, right? So just understanding the layout of the land, creating a plan for those many breaks, right? A great break may be, oh, I know I can't walk over there. This may be a good time for me not to take this. Or, you know what I mean? I think everyone should feel empowered to make their own decisions about what they attend, what they do not attend. But most importantly, don't feel guilty, right? That guilt is something, I can't say mommy guilt, but just guilt, right? You know that your organization paid a lot of money for this. You want to make sure that you get the value out of it. But you also want to make sure that you're whole, right? You can accept what's coming your way and you're not overwhelmed by it. So I would wrap up by saying have a plan, know your own physical limitations, be okay with a reset, but most importantly, be okay with saying no.
An important thing I think to just bring up as well around physical health, right, would be accessibility. And we're just wanting to know if you have any thoughts that you could provide of how attendees can really advocate for those mobility, sensory, dietary, or other needs that they need to be able to
Mhm.
make their conference as enjoyable as everybody else.
I think NIGP does a great job with that. Over the past, I want to say 5 to 7 years, they have become much more aware about mobility, right? I have seen stations that have wheelchairs and things that I didn't see it before, right? But finding a partner, right? If you have mobility issues, I would say find you a partner, someone that can help you navigate the landscape so that you don't feel isolated and alone.
Now that we've covered both the physical and mental side of it, maybe we can also touch on the emotional aspect of the conference, right? It's not just about being tired. Sometimes you're
Mhm.
surrounded by people all day long. You're learning a ton. You're trying to keep that professional code switch more or less on, that call center voice and the happy hotel lobby employee smile. But right, suddenly then you are feeling homesick or overstimulated. Um, how do we manage the emotional component as forum attendees?
I can tell you for me personally, I did self scans, right? I monitored my breathing. I understood if my heart was racing, like, okay, I'm getting overly stimulated. So it comes from understanding your own personal needs, because it's different for everyone, right? But when you start to feel irritable, when you start to feel overwhelmed, when you're just in this fog of what do I do next, clear signs that you are emotionally overloaded. Great time to step back. Do some box breathing just to reset yourself. We talked a couple of years ago about doing chair yoga. That's something that you can do. Most importantly, I think, is just being self aware. If you are in touch with yourself, your mind, body, and spirit, you know when you're doing too much, right? Your
Yeah.
body is telling you you're doing too much. And we usually run past those warning signs until we hit that red spot, right? As long as it's
Oh,
yellow,
yeah.
we keep going, right? But when it
Yep.
hits red, like, oh, we're here. And now what do? You don't want to get there, right? You don't want to get to that red spot. Notice when you're in that yellow zone, be okay with stepping back, reconnecting with your breath, and maybe just talking to somebody that may be overwhelmed too, right? If you don't talk to other people, you think that you're the only person that's going through this, right? But after you talk to a few people, you're like, wow, are you overwhelmed too? Yeah, what do you do? So part of it is having those conversations with other people to say, you look really calm. What are you doing? Right. And I've done that, like, oh, you looking good, girl. What are you doing? Right.
What's your secret?
I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
I think that is definitely practical words to live by. And I want to say thank you so much for taking the time today to come talk with us about such an important concept of that full circle of being well, of that mental, that physical, that well-being, caring for yourself, investing in yourself in terms of having that self-awareness and knowing what your body needs and how to address it in real time. Any final thoughts, Donna, just as we close up this month's segment? I don't know if there's any additional announcements that I might be missing.
No, I think, as always, the early registration will end on May 31st. So if you've been on the fence and you are still interested in registering, if you want to save that extra money, be sure to put in to register before May 31st. And we're going to have another segment coming next month for preparing for Columbus. And I think the only other thing to say is thank you so much, Bobby, for joining us. We are so glad to have your experience and your advice here for the viewers to prepare for attending forum. As always, a wealth of wonderful information.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Ryan, for the invitation. And I would just like to close by saying becoming a human being and not just a human doing, it's more about being and less about doing.
I think that is no greater place to end. So thank you so much, and we will see y'all next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.